On day 10, about half of our group will wake up somewhere over the Atlantic as it dawns on their way home. The rest of us will be on our bus and headed into Jordan.
Make sure you all have the passports in your hand. That's the most important thing.
This is the route we'll be following today. We'll cross into Jordan on the King Hussein border crossing over the Allenby Bridge. Then we'll drive through the edge of Amman on the way to Jerash. Then we will return to Amman for the night. We're heading through that same Wilderness of Judea we've headed through several times, so we'll just look at some of the highlights.
Missing them each time.
Each camel, so many, 7, 8 camels.
Yes, I missed them every single time.
Soon we're driving around Jericho and headed to the checkpoint. No one really told us when to turn off our cameras, so I think I took some photographs and video. I probably shouldn't have, but nobody took my camera. Here we are driving across the Jordan Rift Valley, the Gore, the desert area. Then we arrive at the Israeli side of the checkpoint. We'll have to change buses here. We first go to the Israeli side, then across the Allenby Bridge, and then on over to the Jordanian side. Let's get started. We go inside the immigration checkpoint where we're going to be getting our passport stamped, and that means we've left Israel. And not until we get to the other side are we in Jordan. While we're getting our passports stamped, they're changing buses on us. Buses can't cross this border. During World War I, the Turkish bridge was destroyed here, so General Allenby built a new bridge in 1918. It was destroyed a couple of different times during wars, and now this modern concrete bridge was built in 1994 to carry you across the Jordan River. As said many times before, the Jordan River is not very impressive. Don't blink or you'll miss it. There it is. On the other side, there are dozens of trucks lined up trying to get across the Allenby Bridge, but they can't go until they've been given clearance to enter the other side. It's also interesting as we drive along, we see the jungle of the Jordan, or the Zor as it is called. When there is water, vegetation grows very easily. As you look at this map, you can see the vegetation area right around the bridge, and especially on the Jordanian side. We're now crossing the Gore again, the dry area on the Jordanian side, and soon we'll be stopping to pick up our guide for the rest of our trip in Jordan. His name will be Omar, and our bus driver will be Abraham. And our bus captain will be Tim. And now a little geography. The rivers over here separate the various sections. The brook Zered, the Arnon River, the Jabbok River, and the Carmack River. We'll be crossing 3 of these while we travel. We'll be going to Jerash and Amman, Madaba, Mount Nebo, and Petra, which is down in Edom. So we'll cross through Edom, Moab, Ephraim, and Ammon. Quickly after entering Jordan, we start to see Bedouin camps. We notice that these camps are different than the ones we saw in Israel. The ones in Israel were permanent camps with metal buildings and concrete. These are tent structures that move rather regularly, it would seem. These people live very much like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob lived about 4,000 years ago. And you are always a Bedouin. Even if you move into town and get you an apartment and have a job, you still think of yourself as being a part of a Bedouin tribe.
And then he went to the land of Haran, his brother, Haran.
There are small towns scattered across Jordan. Here's a typical one.
Down here, and then we're going to head towards Jerash. And just
As we head up toward Amman, we see Mount Nebo. It's the high peak over there. We'll be there tomorrow. And as we head up through to Amman, we pass through Moab. This is where Ruth is from. And the book of Ruth was written about this place. You never know what you're going to see as you go along. Deborah thought that this was some guy going to get his bride.
people, especially the people of the Mugalu, who were really, the society was ashamed if you have a member in your family.
Well, I cannot believe what Deborah said about us. She thought the shepherd was taking us to buy a bride. I will have you know that he already has 2 and 5 goats would not be near enough to buy the kind of bride he likes. We are obviously taking a goat taxi to the movies. So how is your trip to Jordan going? Jerash is so big. It is very hard to walk all over it, especially in this heat. I hope all the others of the photography team made it home today, and I know that they will have many wonderful tales to talk about. Well, get a good night's sleep. I hear the hotel you are staying in is really fancy. And by the way, if you need us you can let us know and we can hop through your mind as you count goats, but I hear that sheep usually work out better.
Now we drive through the edges of Amman as we curve northward to go to Jerash. Along the way we noticed a mixture of mosques and churches. There is freedom of religion here, and Christians are treated fairly nice, at least for now. Our guide, who is a Christian, says you always have a backup plan and backup money so you can flee should a different government take power. And now we cross the Jabbok River and are in the land of Gilead as we continue to head toward Jerash. Soon we're arriving at ancient Jerash. You can see here Hadrian's Arch. We'll be there in just a few minutes. Jordan's kind of the opposite of Disneyland. Here you enter through the gift shop, not exit through the gift shop. Jerash covers a huge area, and excavations started here in 1938 and have continued since then. It was part of the Decapolis. There were several other cities, Hippos, Bethshan, Jerash, and Amman, that we have been visiting or will visit. We'll follow this kind of route through the city. After passing through the gift shop and looking over and seeing the back of the Hippodrome, the first thing we come to is Hadrian's Arch. It was not actually a gate, it was a memorial arch. It looked like this when they started, and it's been restored somewhat to look like this, but it originally looked like this. It was built in 129 AD to commemorate the visit of Hadrian, the emperor, to this city. After leaving Hadrian's Arch, we come to the Hippodrome. It was built about 220 AD and served until 749 AD. It's the smallest known hippodrome in the Roman Empire. It could only seat about 15,000 people. During certain times of the year, they have chariot races and Roman demonstrations. After leaving the Hippodrome, we look back at Hadrian's Arch, and then we turn our attention the other way to the southern gate of Jerash. We'll have had to walk about a half a mile just to get to that gate before even entering Jerash itself. And up there on the hill, as we look, that is the great temple to Zeus. We'll talk about it in a minute. And now we come to the southern entrance into the city itself, after having walked a mile. It was part of the 4th century wall, which was 2.5 miles long. Next we come to the great temple that honored Zeus. It was built in 163 BC, but it is over ruins that would have been here in Byzantine times, and this is probably what it looked like. Next to the Great Zeus Temple is the Southern Theater. It's seated about 5,000 people. It was built in the 1st century AD and was in fairly good shape when it was found. Next we come to the Oval Forum or Market with its 56 Ionic columns around it. This would have been the market for the city. This is what it's like now, and this is what it used to look like when it was new. And now let's look at the Cardo Maximus, Main Street. It was 2,400 feet long, a half a mile long, and ran from the Oval Plaza to the northern gate. It has 500 columns along it and would have been lined with shops on each side. It also had a drain down the middle. The Macellum was one of the marketplaces along its side, and it was built in about 120 AD. The Macellum market had a fountain inside it, and one of these was a butcher shop, and the stone table still has cut marks on it from knives. Let's take a look down the side of the Cardo Maximus and the shops that would have been along its side. It looks like this now, but this is what it would have looked like in the past. And here we see a picture of the Cardo looking down it from the north. And this is what it would have probably have looked like in that time. On down to Cardo Maximus, we come to the South tetrapylon, marking the intersection of two main roads. There's also a north tetrapylon. Next we come to the Temple of Artemis, the daughter of Zeus, Mother Nature. It probably looked like this now, but this is how it looked when it was new. And lastly, we're going to look at the Nymphaea and its fountain that would have been here. This is what it would have probably looked like in the time it was built. As we get ready to leave, if we had time, we could have seen the 12 Byzantine churches here. This was a great center for the Christian faith. Also, some people speculate this is where Paul came after his conversion in Damascus. But now it's time to head back to Hadrian's Arch and overlook the modern city of Jerash before leaving. We will be eating lunch at the Artemis restaurant. And when we arrive, they're cooking fresh bread, the old Bedouin way, in an earthen oven. Let's watch him cook some bread. And then we head in for the buffet and sit down to eat. I think the food in Israel was better than the food in Jordan. And now we drive along the Jabbok River Valley. This was the border between Amman on this side and Gilead on the other side, but it was also much more. This is the route that Abraham and Jacob took as they came to the Holy Land. They turned to the west here along the Jabbok River. Down there somewhere is where Jacob wrestled with an angel and his name was changed to Israel, where he met Esau or Edom with his 500 soldiers and was reconciled with his brother. Over 4,000 years ago, around 2000 BC, Abraham and Israel walked right down this valley to the left, across the Jordan River, and into the Promised Land. And now it's time to head into Amman for the night. You never really know what you'll see in Amman. Maybe two camels catching an Uber. Or maybe a flock right in the middle of downtown, running off to catch up with their shepherd. Or was it a cell and they're running to get to the cell before it's over? There's a great deal of traffic here. It seems that all 4 million of the people who live in Amman are in a car today. And it is extremely hot, 102 degrees, but they're cooling off in the fountains. They're hanging out a large Jordanian flag and putting up the king's image. For in a few days it'll be their Independence Day. And now we check into the Grand Millennium Hotel in Amman, where we'll be eating supper and just kind of wandering around and spending some time. This is the view outside our window. And it's time to say goodbye to day 10. Those who left have already arrived home.